That's solar.
The what?
The solar farm.
It got
I'm going to
approved.
call the October meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge and remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders who've given their all. Thank you. First up is Chief Woods.
How y'all doing this evening?
Good, Chief.
Good. Put my glasses on, read my handwriting. 48 calls overall for the month of September. Only 14 of them in the borough. $0 fire loss because everybody's doing a good job of taking care of things. We had over 70 hours of man-hours of mitigating emergency incidents and well over 140 between fundraiser and training for the month of September. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Jody, I didn't turn that microphone on.
Joni Mason, resident of New Freedom. I would first like to give the definition of some words that were used at last month's meeting. Nepotism, the practice of giving family members or friends an unfair advantage or preferential treatment in the workplace or other fields. Collusion, secret or illegal cooperation or conspiracy, especially in order to cheat or deceive others. Favoritism, the practice of giving unfair preferential treatment to a person or group at the expense of others. I do not know what other associated behaviors are. I find it interesting that the person asserting these things about me has never had so much as a conversation with me. The 7 of you
Because you block us on Facebook.
ran for your position and unfortunately may have to put up with the nastiness that comes from residents at times. It's sad because I know how much time all of you put into attending meetings, researching information in preparation of meetings, and that sometimes residents just don't understand the processes that you must go through to get things done. But of the 6 people accused of these terrible things at last month's meeting, only 2 serve on this council. The other 4 of us have jobs where these kinds of accusations can hurt our reputations and our income, and we've done none of them. I feel wronged, as I know the others do, first by the person making these outlandish accusations, but also by this council. I remember a time where one of you felt you had been wronged and you came to this council and asked for an apology. I believe that this council owes, if not all 6 of us, at least the 4 of us that do not sit up there, an apology and an explanation on why public comments have gone against the solicitor's advice and is now open season on residents, council members, and borough employees. Who's next? Our children and our grandchildren? All 6 of the people accused support this community freely with their time, talents, and money by either volunteering at or attending events for Rose Fire Company, SRPD, Lions Club, VFW, REC, Scouting, Smoke on the Rail, summer concerts, Senior Center, NCR, local churches, and the list could go on and on. I feel that this exemplifies what it means to live in a small community. I'm also sure that those organizations appreciate our contributions.
I don't.
I believe all of you ran on the premise of what's best for New Freedom. Allowing anyone to yell and scream, make false accusations,
I'm being threatened in the back of the
and
room.
literally make people afraid to be here.
I'm being threatened in the back of the room.
What is best for anyone. If this continues, no one will want to support anything in New Freedom, including this council. And if this council continues to let the public comments be used to attack, insult, berate, and lie about people and or things, God help the residents of New Freedom. Thank you for your time.
Comment?
Yeah, I'll come up after that one. I'll defend myself.
Put your hands up.
I look at the camera. Good evening, America. Good evening, New Freedom. Good evening, YouTube. Hopefully this one won't be edited like the last one. You want to cut a couple seconds off this one too, Mr. Mayor? Time and time again, I have had to come up to this bench and hold you individuals accountable for being the pieces of shit that you actually are. Don't interrupt me. Do it and see what happens. I've already filed.
Are you threatening me, sir?
I am. What, are you going to have me removed?
Yeah, I think I probably will.
Good. Do it. Do it.
If you're seriously threatening.
I'm allowed. You are already in violation of the Sunshine Act by interrupting me. So do it again, and I will file a complaint with the Court of Common Pleas, which is my right, within 30 days of the violation. Now, you're going to apologize to me for interrupting me during my public comment. Apologize. Or 2/3. I motion for this council with 2/3 vote to have you acknowledge your violation of the Sunshine Act. Mr. Solicitor, you're just going to allow him to violate the Sunshine Act and what? He's allowed to interrupt me? Tell me what I can and can't say? We've been over this for the last couple months. You're a piece of shit who reneges and accepts drinks from the public, who keeps the VFW open after hours and drives and leaves the place drunk. You're a white-collar criminal, and I'll tell it to you straight to your face. How much money, this is your opportunity to declare the error. How much money are you pledging to the VFW and its new building, Andy Bobby? Yeah, don't answer that. That's a smart decision. Joni, there's a reason why I've included all three of you or other people, and it's because you've chosen to align yourselves with pieces of shit, right? Dave's a drunk, and I'll go on record and say it right now, you're a drunk, and you're lucky that I couldn't get you out of the home association. You know, conveniently here we are now as I try to do it. You've been dismissed. You've been found guilty and non-compliant for statements about, financial interest violations. So enjoy refilling those out for the last couple of years. You, Mr. Bobby, you wear a lot of hats, but the Ethics Commission doesn't really give a shit. Neither does the DA. So I have filed private criminal complaints against both of you for official oppression, for perjury, and false statements to police and agencies. Because somehow, when you, Miss Mason, texted Sergeant Teague on a private line in May to have him come in response to a disorderly conduct, now we have no idea what's going on. So again, I want to take the opportunity to say I'm sorry to all of you who have been brought into the criminal mischief and bullshit of these two gentlemen here, as they've continued to seat themselves in agencies and in positions across our town to do nefarious and unknown goods. And they've continued to deceive the people of New Freedom. And if you care to go back all the way to May when Devin Taylor came here for the first time, you'll see time and time again how they have continued to oppress the people of New Freedom, sanction the residents of New Freedom, and their fellow council members time and time again. Please, for the love of God, do not vote for these people again. This time around, we cannot allow individuals like Dave Reisdorf and Andrew Bobby to continue to sit on our elected positions. I don't know how to else make it clear other than being up here today. Can I have a time check? I know I have about, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. Have we ever decided what you guys were sanctioning us on? Okay, thank you very much. I came underprepared today, but I'm thankful that, and I was going to hold all my comments until the end, because it's been made very clear that they will not put anything that I say into the minutes, and only the things that their chosen allies will say into the minutes. I'm not the only person here trying to hold these people accountable for their perceived behaviors. I'm simply just the loudest. Right? I'm a disabled veteran trying to do a little bit of good I'm a single father of one. I gave a lot of my time and energy to the VFW, at which point I identified Dave Reisdorf and Andy Bobby are crooks. And I'll call them out right now. I'll say it to them. You're a drunk, you're a bad manager, and you should have never been the manager of the VFW. But I don't know who you blew to get your job there, or who you gave a jerk off to.
This is not a VFW.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. This is community business, and regardless if you think it's pertinent or not, you guys are both head over heels for the VFW. You continue to deceive the people of their freedom. You bring in allies who are deeply involved in the VFW as well, and you're lucky because Alex and previous chain of command doesn't want to get involved. I don't know what happened when Burkentine came in and didn't buy the building, or anything else that you guys were involved with. You know, please, you're also not allowed to whisper at the bench. That's another violation. I'd like an apology for that.
He asked if you were kicked out of the VFW.
No.
And I said,
I don't make enough.
No, how would you know? I thought you weren't a member.
I like to go home.
You know what you should have probably told him? I have no idea,
I
Mr.
said,
Solicitor.
I don't think so.
Okay, okay. All right, well, I had nothing really else to say. There's a lot of people here who probably want to do business. I'm going to go back and sit back there and watch you guys continue to deceive the people of their freedom and do whatever the hell you want to do as council. Your fellow council tries to do right by the people, and you guys just do whatever the fuck you want to do anyway. Right? So I'm going to sit back here. Jake, if you talk to me again back there, I will call Southern Regional and file a report for harassment on you. It's not your position to facilitate or hold people accountable. That's Mr. Bobby's job as the facilitator of this meeting. Okay? So don't talk to me again. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Anybody else?
No.
Gotta read. As a citizen, first and foremost, I do want to thank the council for the hours that y'all put in, the time you put in.
Could you hit the mic? John?
Depends on one, just sit down. Picking up.
Oh, okay, sorry. I appreciate the time that you guys put in to this place. It's a small town. I can't believe we have this much problem. I've only made a handful of meetings in my 19 years as a citizen here. When I took over as a temporary fire chief of New Freedom, I decided that my department should be a little bit more visible, not only to the citizens, but the leadership of our borough. Also thought as a citizen that I'd want to be president of a few more meetings. There's one problem, it's constant bickering from opposing council members and citizens. A little advice for the council, please discuss some agenda items before the meetings to streamline these meetings.
Amen.
You can't do that. You can't discuss things.
You know what? I didn't interrupt you, don't interrupt me.
All right, well, review the Sunshine Act, because you can only speak once per, so make sure you do it good now. You've already said your piece, sir.
I'm talking as a
No more than
citizen.
twice on the same issue.
Ow. Okay.
Robert's Rules of Order.
I know
Mr.
Robert.
Solicitor, please
One more
inform him.
time.
Facilitator.
Please have some respect for people.
If you guys aren't going to enforce Sunshine Act and Robert's Rules of Order, I, as a member of New Freedom, will.
Sir, he came here as the chief of Rose Fire.
Will you enforce Robert's Rules of Order and inform him of his...
I'll get ready to lose.
Go ahead. This is civil discourse at its finest, Chief.
You got it. Seen people stand up here and complain. They've been given a complete response, and the very next day complain again on social media for all that,
Because of the misinformation. Who are you addressing? You addressing them or me, Chief?
I'm addressing you.
John,
know what?
no, it's not worth it.
This is your fire, Chief, everybody.
John?
Yeah, I'd rather him than you.
We need your assistance. We'll get his, we'll promote him, all right? Just calm down. So, hey, you need to come in here and take care of this.
You can't tell him to remove me. That's gotta be that guy up there.
I appreciate all you guys do.
He is disrupting the meeting. He's repeatedly interrupted people who have been recognized by the chair as qualified to speak. He has used profanity repeatedly.
Which is not a violation, Mr. Solicitor.
Because of the nature of the comments, they've not been directed toward public issues. So,
This is public discourse. He came up insinuating things about me. Am I not allowed to re-defend myself?
no.
Okay, but you let him come up a second time for an issue when he was not allowed per Sunshine Act or Robert's Rules of Order. If you're not going to enforce it, I will.
You don't have the right to enforce anything at the meeting.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I 110% have the right to call for a violation per the Sunshine Act and Robert's Rules of Order.
You're continuing to interrupt the meeting. That kind of disruption.
Because your facilitator is failing to facilitate the meeting.
Stop.
Or what? Are you going to have me removed?
Yes.
Okay. Officer, you can take me. Are you removing me, or can I sit back here?
I told you to stop.
Okay, well, I'm not stopping.
Make it a board order and I will remove him.
Is there any further public comment? Approval of minutes for the regular meeting held September 9th and the budget meeting held September 7th. We'll take them one at a time. First is the meeting from September 9th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Comments, changes, corrections?
There's two corrections. The first being, report action of the meeting. Just says Dave Reisdorf left the meeting at 6:44. Dave Reisdorf announced his resignation and left the meeting at 6:44. As well as the Tasteful Occasions lease, number 6 says it's a lease term of 3 years with a 5% increase in year 3. It's a 2-year lease with a 3-year option for a 5-year, or a 5% increase in year 3. It wasn't a 3-year lease.
Modify your motion to include the two changes?
Excuse me just a minute. I believe what Mr. Reisberg said was you'll have my resignation on your desk in the morning.
That's exactly what I said. Okay?
So why hasn't it there?
Can we
What's that?
have the minutes reflected accurately that Dave Reisdorf left the meeting stating his resignation letter would be on your desk tomorrow?
That's correct.
At 6:44. Thank you.
Any other changes? Can you change the motion to reflect those two corrections?
So moved.
Agreed. I'll amend my second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
My vote is on.
You have to have the reason. And is that a legal reason?
What's that?
The reason for
I wasn't here.
Oh, that's true.
You still shouldn't be here.
That's a good reason.
Okay.
All right. Make a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes from October 7th.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the budget meeting minutes from October 7th. Are there any corrections or changes? All in favor?
Right here.
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is on. Approval of treasurer's report. Pending audit.
Make a motion to approve treasurer's report for September 2024, pending audit.
Second.
just have one question on page 4, the very first item. Burkentine for Goodfellow Park contribution, 35,000. Was that the 35,000 that was supposed to be for the pavilion that got moved to paying for the grant? Was that something else?
Did you have that answer during the last meeting?
I don't know, it's on this right here.
Right, we discussed that budget.
I'm asking the question.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question also about page 4. Volunteer fire relief, fire relief, that was from fire tax?
No,
No?
that's from foreign fire insurance.
Okay.
It's passed down from the
I
state.
thought that's what it
goes
was.
right to the Rose Fire Company volunteer.
Workers' comp reimbursements, okay? Does that go back to each individual municipality that's paid into workers' comp?
Well,
Because,
that's revenue that's coming into the borough. So that's
but we
coming
will
in.
have expense going out, correct?
Well, this is for 22 and 23.
Okay.
So 24's expense hasn't been billed yet.
Well, my question is, those workers' comp reimbursements, because we do bill the other municipalities, that portion goes back to those municipalities, correct?
Say that again?
Am I making myself clear? We bill other municipalities for our workers' comp.
It comes into the borough.
It comes into our borough, does it also get paid out to theirs? Because we do the expense for that and then bill the other municipalities for their share, correct?
Correct.
So a portion of this should go back to those municipalities?
That's coming from those municipalities. It can't go back to them.
That's their portion of the workman's comp.
Okay, that is their reimbursement to us. That's not the government's reimbursement to us. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Stormwater Channel, North Constitution.
Yeah, everybody has a couple pictures that were taken following the completion of the work. There's still a little bit of work that will have to be done in the spring as far as some seeding in the channel itself. We're not permitted to work in that area between October 1st and, I believe, January 1st. So the majority of the work, about 90%, is complete. And we do have positive drainage there from the daylight of the pipe to the limit of disturbance.
And I'll stay on the report until it's completed this next year.
That's up to council. I mean, at this point, it's complete. It's just a matter of we're holding 10% back with the contractor to proceeding in the spring.
And then we'll see that bill, so I think it can come off of the monthly report and just close it out whenever we get the final.
Yeah, we'll have to close out the permit with DEP and Army Corps
Right.
as well, but we can't do that until next spring.
Okay. All right, so it can come off then. Legal analysis code of ordinances.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I pressed that. Facebook pages, lease renewal.
So following the last meeting, the amount that council decided upon was communicated to the tenant. The response that was received on Thursday of last week, which was communicated in your packet, was the suggestion to compromise at $2,244 a month. If you recall, the last offer of council was $2,364. So at this point, there's $120 difference it back to council as requested.
I stated in the last meeting, the committee worked hard. The committee looked at all appliances, the cost, the usage. The cost is the cost. Council sent back the lease. And they have now asked twice for a reduction. I will not ask the citizens of New Freedom to supplement this for-profit business. Maybe you others will. I will not. It is not the citizens' responsibility for this business to meet its monthly needs. As well as, I requested, being this has not been signed, this needs to come back to the council, because 2 years ago when we did this, I asked for a force majeure to be put in it, and it was declined. In our packet, in the budget actually, the office is requesting for a feasibility study on that building. What happens if we have a natural disaster, because that is a location area? How are we going to have access and usage to it? What happens if the feasibility study happens and we need to take control of that building? There are lots of things in there, and that I feel the force majeure needs to be in there, as well as after we sent that back to them, it was noted that we are in a contract for our utility usage, which I was under the interpretation that it could be raised. Well, it's going to be raising 5 to 10%, even though we're in a contract for our utilities. That's not factored into there. So right there, that's more money that they are going to be using that is not going to be accounted for. I say that that lease needs to be pulled back and have those addressed, as well as when we had that power outage a couple years ago, we were out of power for 4 days, the exclusive use of the generator, who paid for that? Nobody paid. They did not pay for that personally. The citizens paid for them to keep their refrigerators going. I think there needs to be something in there, and something for the utilities, that if the borough assumes an increase in utilities, whatever increase that is, that their utilities should increase by the same amount.
I have to agree with the force majeure. I mean, if we do end up with a problem. I don't have a problem with the access, because the mayor would declare a state of emergency and we would take over the building if there was an actual need for us to use it for citizens to be housed or protected from the elements.
But does that override a lease,
Yes.
solicitor? That overrides a lease?
I'd have to see the lease agreement, but typically yes, because the landlord usually has rights to access to property at any time, upon reasonable notice if needed, but without notice if needed.
So we would have the right to remove them if we need that kitchen, because they have exclusive uses to the kitchen. Nobody's allowed to use that kitchen, so we could remove them?
I don't know about removing someone, but in a force majeure situation where there's an emergency or something like that, you would have access to the property.
Yeah, if
That's
the force
different
majeure-
than an eviction.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's just an
Yeah.
emergency. So.
Yeah, if it's an emergency situation, landlords have the right to protect the property.
Utilities usually factored into a lease like that, where if the utility goes up, it automatically goes up for the resident, because usually if somebody's renting, they have utilities in their own name often.
Yes, and you know, you could have a pass-through on that, or even require the utility to be put in the name of the tenant. So you have some options there, whatever you would like. If you prefer that the utilities be in your name, then it's a pass-through, they just reimburse you for whatever the cost is, you can do that. Or you could just set, your flat fee, it's however you want. It depends on how the utilities are divided typically. In other words, if there's more than one user of electricity, but there's only one meter, then what you try to do is divide it up, or you might make it a percentage, whatever the council feels is appropriate, you can put that in.
I don't personally, may I, Mr. President? I don't think this is something we want to die on the hill over, an electric increase over the term of their lease. I think we've already come to the conclusion through the current folks that are in the committee that we felt, now I was not on the committee, but I took interest in what was going on, and I think what we presented to them was certainly extremely fair. It may not seem fair to them because they were getting a pretty good deal for quite a few years. When they're paying $300, $400 a month, plus then getting usage because they're in there showing people around, that stopped. So they went from $1,000 to what did we recommend, 25?
$25.96.
That's more than, and we came up with that, and I think that's what we need to stick with, personally. That's fair.
We're at 2364 right?
That's fair.
I think
That's what we came up with at the last meeting.
Because we conceded a little bit on the trash pickup, the water, we conceded on a couple things. So going anything down below the 2364 is
I
acceptable.
don't think it's acceptable personally, and we've invited them to come to council, they've refused, so
They've sent
here we are.
2 threatening letters.
We're going to put that in the form of a motion so we can do something.
What do we need to do, because they
already have, or you want to bring it back?
No.
No, make a
I
motion that we're
think
gonna,
we should add the force majeure and leave it at the 2364. I think that's what we're saying, right?
Yes.
So
And
that's-
what about the generator usage? During power outages, that they're using that, and who's paying for that? Everybody sitting out here in the audience and listening is paying for that.
Well, the whole building is on a generator. I think it's just, I'm not sure you can break that down or even anticipate do we know what a hourly charge is on the generator?
that would be under an emergency situation, which I think it's just ridiculous to even take that into consideration.
I think we should do the 2 things, the force majeure and going back to the 2364.
I make a motion for the lease to come back to council to make some revisions.
I don't think that we can pull the lease back. I think
Well, they
we can
don't.
say that we can add a force majeure to it.
Wouldn't it come back to us to review?
Isn't that what it is now?
They're just gonna have it and be able to sign it without it even coming back to council?
Well, we've given them a lease at 2364. That's what they have in front of them. Council gave them a lease for 2364. That's what we agreed to, and we handed them that. So yes, just like if you were buying a car or you were leasing a building, once you have the lease in hand, you have so far, and I don't know if we set a time period on when they had to respond. That
We
would be-
did.
That would be an out, that we could say you went past the time period.
We did, I believe it was the 25th?
We said, from the
Prior.
September meeting, it was 25 days from when I knew it was the day after. So that took us to the budget meeting, which we did have a response, and we discussed at the budget meeting.
Why does the council not believe that utility increases should be included? It should be a pass-through to them.
I I believe what the mayor is saying, that it's a small amount, and we don't know for sure it's going to happen.
No,
so.
no, we know we're getting an increase. We are getting an increase. I'm talking about that pass-through. When the contract that we're in for our monthly kilowatt usage is increased, even though we're in a 5 or 7 year contract, that needs to be passed through to them also. That's what I'm saying. I think it's the utility increases outside of a contracted period that get passed on to us should be passed on to them, as well as the force majeure. I don't think that's unreasonable. And if you said it was only $20, or we said it was something, no matter what it is, it's a minuscule, but again, I, you, them, nobody should be paying for that. They are a business, they need to cover that, not us. I went by there, it was 1:10 a.m. last month on a Friday, they were there. Lights were on, they were working, their box trucks were out there. They have 24 access to that building.
But I will reiterate what I said before. You don't have a separate meter for electric or gas or anything else. So as an example, the gas bill for the building this month was $153 or $154, but we included in the lease $193 for gas for each month.
Because the committee only looked at the gas usage in the summer when the only gas usage was going to be coming out of that kitchen.
And
We didn't
hot
look,
water.
and we did not charge them for when it does run in the winter. That wasn't, because we came to the conclusion of they're using heat in the kitchen, things are being heated that way. So we were very conscious on how we went about it. And they have 4 commercial size freezers. They have another 1.5 size commercial
We've
freezer.
all
They
read that,
have,
Eric, and
I know they have a lot of
and
them.
And I have given you praise for what you've done. The committee did a very good job coming up with the averages and coming up with a good lease. And
So aside from the
again,
generator, don't worry about the generator, but the pass-through usage, when we get the increase on the borough, that should be passed through to them, whatever that increase is.
How much is their electric a month, did we just estimate? We estimated their electric for a month. I don't have that in front of me.
300, rounded it down to what it came out to. However, it's going up by 5 to, you said up to 10%.
We don't know.
We don't even know.
We don't know if there even will be an increase. It's anticipated that there might be an increase because of additional demand. So we don't, no one knows for sure at this point.
The increase will take effect July 1st, 2025. Here it is right here. And will impact all customers, even those with a fixed price, i.e. New Freedom, for their agreements. So it is going up. We do know.
Does it say how much?
It's 5 to 10%, so we don't even know. So I do not think that that is, I mean, why wouldn't you? Why would the borough absorb the increase for that? It should be passed right through. They're gonna use what they use. We've already put a amount on what they're being charged. It would just go up by that, whatever percentage it is, 5, 10, 8, whatever it's gonna be. That's completely reasonable, along with the force majeure.
do you want to make a motion?
I will amend my motion to add a force majeure to the tasteful occasions contract, and also have a pass-through of any utility increases that the borough
Just to clarify, I think you mean utility rate increases.
Utility rate increases, a pass-through, and whatever percentage it is, it goes through
Just
them
to
as
clarify,
well.
the rate increase.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? The utility rate increase, we gave them something in the one lease that had the electric, amount of the electric, so we can base it on that?
Yes,
Okay. So we have a basis for that?
yes.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry?
Just to clarify, then, the motion did not include any discussion as far as the amount of rent. I just want to clarify that that amount that council previously proposed is not changing.
That's correct.
And what is the date they have to have a response by?
Well, I think it would have been the same, but did they have 25 business days or 25 calendar days?
Depends on what we have in November.
Well, the no,
It has to be before the November meeting, so pick a date, a couple days before the November meeting.
November 6th,
Sounds good. Is that a
Wednesday,
Wednesday?
before the meeting.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
My vote is no.
My vote is aye. Okay. Now, legal analysis code of ordinances.
Is that from last month?
What?
That was from last month?
Yeah.
I didn't bring that along.
Oh, that's. I'm not sure I can do this legally, but I'm going to try to bypass a large amount of discussion. Mayor Butcher has discussed with the office and has agreed that the office and Mayor Butcher are going to work on declaring emergencies.
Snow emergencies.
Snow emergencies. I have no problem with that. I would open it up for discussion with council, but I would include that in any changes to the code of ordinances unless someone has an objection or further discussion on the matter, rather than spend a long time discussing it.
So that's the amendment of chapter 207?
207.22, yeah.
That's correct.
And then you have the authority to declare that?
Correct, because it's an executive action and not an administrative action is one of the reasons. But the other reason is I think we really do need to be able to work together with police. They know how the roads are. You guys from Public Works, you know how the roads are. Andrew, they answer to you, so you know how things are going and whether we need to declare a snow emergency, because it has to be done by proclamation and advertised. It can't just be said, okay, we're going to have a snow emergency. You know, it's got to be, and I think you all have in your packets a copy of what we did before for the snow emergency proclamation.
So before we get too far down the road, I would make a motion that we include the mayor's request to amend chapter 207.22 for snow emergencies.
I think there was another thing that I would like to.
I'll
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, I have another change that I would like to see, and it has to do with Andrew. I think it says you are the manager, but you took out administrator. I think it's very important for your title to include administrator, because you are the chief administrative officer by law as a manager, and I think administrator needs to be in there behind your name.
So you don't have that in your change currently?
That change, well, that change was just manager. It should be manager / administrator. The definition of administrator.
Motion to include administrator.
This motion is only on Kim's request, not the other 16 pages.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then I will I didn't make a motion, so I can't withdraw it, but I'll bring it up later. This is just, you're right, my motion with my first and second.
All right, then the original motion stands. Does anyone have any discussion on that?
This is just to include Kim.
As working with Borough Office to declare snow emergencies. Snow emergencies would go out under the signature of the mayor to make sure that it's, disaster declaration would be in line with Pennsylvania law.
We're not voting on the other 16 pages right now.
No, that's next. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
My vote is no.
My vote is aye. Motion carries. Okay. Consider authorizing advertisement for proposed code adoption ordinance. That's the other. And then
16. I make a motion to remove chapter 30 from the 16 pages and deal with that separately. Manager. A lot of this is minuscule, changing the word judge to magistrate, changing a fine from 50 to 25, and to lump the manager. That's going to need some definition to it and talking, to lump it all in with everything. I think something like this needs to be talked about on its own.
We certainly can do that, but what would be the problem with fixing the things that are broken now and then bringing it back up to discuss whatever there's other change?
Because you want to have this taken care of. I don't think it'll be taken care of tonight, and if you want to take care of these minuscule things, fine. So I thought it would just be better to let everything go ahead and pass through, and then take up chapter 30 independently.
I'm sorry, is there a problem with the wording that's on chapter 30 as opposed to all the other?
Well, it says here that the manager shall be appointed for an indefinite term by a majority of all members of council. The manager shall serve at the pleasure of the council, and it was added in that subject to a contractual rights that may arise under an employment agreement that may be entered into.
But there is none right now. It just allows us the option.
Well, that's a problem.
It still doesn't change the code whereby he only has a job for 2 years. Every 2 years at the organizational meeting, he's got to be reappointed. So
I think there was a majority of us that were here last year. I think it was the October of 23 meeting when the outrageous employment contract was brought up with a 6-month severance and just over the top. And to have any talk in here of a contractual, rights agreement, I think there's no need for that.
but it's standard. PSAB, if you look at PSAB's sample, they all have that.
You don't,
He
Never,
can have a
you don't
contract.
have to have a contract.
I think this is just, you're putting this in here as one step, moving closer to putting one in at
Pennsylvania
a
law put
detriment.
this in. It's
That's
Pennsylvania law. It's
That's-
their language,
I
it's
didn't,
not mine.
no one put that in there, that's the Pennsylvania statute.
Do we have to have it there?
It should if it's Pennsylvania law, and we follow the law.
These changes came from an outside, I don't remember the name of it, the outside group that audited.
And then
Just remember what an ordinance does is it gives authorization to the council to take action. But it's an authorizing ordinance as opposed to an implementing ordinance. An implementing ordinance would be one where, you know, the action is actually taken, a contract is provided, whatever. But this would be, in this code, what you're looking at is an authorizing ordinance, which allows the council to make a contract, but it doesn't require it. If you don't put that in, then the council does not have the authority to create a contract.
I don't think that the council should be creating a contract. There's never been a contract for our
But
borough manager.
That's fine, then you would say that you wouldn't pass a contract, but that doesn't mean that you might not need that power in the future.
It came very close.
Well, that's right, but I mean,
I
that's,
don't think it was
that's
actually
what
ever
happens when you
It-
have
it-
elections and things like that.
Yeah, it was. The
I,
people had it.
I
They
think
were
it was brought up, yes. I don't know, I
There
don't
was a
remember,
couple meetings.
hold on, I don't know if we actually voted on it. I think it was kicked down the road to the next couple next couple agendas. But council as a whole, whether that we get another contract or not, still has the option to then vote yes or no.
Right. It's just
So
allowed.
this doesn't guarantee a
I
contract.
never said it guaranteed it. I do
So
not,
what's the problem with
I
it
do
then?
not like the subject to contractual rights because of what transpired in October. I just have a very uneasy feeling where this will be going.
So if anything
But
that's
it
gonna get
doesn't
signed,
matter.
hold on. Anything that's gonna get signed has to be approved by council. Right?
And if people were not here at the meeting, it probably would have went through. The people
do you mean
that
not
were
here?
The people that were here at that last October meeting and their outrage over what was in that
Oh,
contract,
that's- people are
absolutely.
soliciting
Your feet were held
noise.
to the fire.
No.
It did, absolutely.
No.
And why is
Do
the
we-
former
I'm sorry,
bond
do we have a
repealed?
motion to,
We actually don't. I
advertise?
don't think we do.
Not to advertise, I made the motion to remove chapter 30 and talk
Right.
about it.
Did we get a second for that?
Did not.
We did not.
All right, let's do that and get that vote going.
I guess it dies.
Guys.
And
I will make a motion that we authorize advertisement of the proposed code adoption ordinances as written, understanding that.
No, not
we're
as written.
Changing it, huh?
Not as written.
Not, well, this
We're changing the
administrator.
administrator.
I'm sorry, you're right. Changing it from manager to manager/administrator. With that one change. And then this brings it to the point where it's the same as Pennsylvania state law, which is what we're supposed to be following.
Seconded.
And it says the bond is repealed. Why would the bond be repealed?
It's, yeah, it's just a, it's not required. Isn't that the sentence? Right. It's just a correction.
Do you want a chair?
We have individual bonds and bonds.
Tell Veronica.
And then, back to this contractual employment agreement, who would draw that up?
Typically, the solicitor draws up a proposed employment agreement and presents it to the council. It's usually negotiated at the time that you hire a borough manager. So it would be negotiated then with the personnel committee on your council, and the applicant would negotiate the terms of the contract. One of the reasons you might want to have the ability to have the contracting authority is because many times borough managers want a contract in order to take a position. So if you have a vacancy as a borough manager, in order to get another qualified applicant, or the best qualified applicant, that applicant may want a contract. I know that the boroughs that I represent all have contracts with the borough managers, so it's kind of a common thing. So, and in each of those, the solicitor drafted it, presented it to council ahead of the council meeting, after, negotiations with the personnel committee, when the personnel committee negotiated with the applicant. That's how they came about.
I have a point
Not
of
how the one-
information.
I'm sorry?
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I would say that's not how the one came about in October, so that's why I'm so
No,
concerned.
no, I'm just saying in my two boroughs, that's how they.
The solicitor didn't write up
Yeah,
the agreement.
they didn't hire a borough manager without a contract. They hired him with a contract because they wanted performance standards, they had certain expectations that they wanted, things like that they put in the contract. And the borough manager wanted protection against political, maneuverings and so forth. So they worked out agreements that way.
So, Mr. Chairman, isn't this something that should be handled in executive session?
Well, the actual contract itself, but not this. This is just bringing our code, our ordinances up to match the standard language of PA ordinances. That's all that this does. And all of the Chapter 30 change does is allows the possibility of a contractor. There is no, we could go for the next 400 years without a contract. It just allows the possibility of it.
If you want.
On page 4, it's number 9 says the title rep council is changed to borough council. There is no rep council. Is that
Right, that's why it's changed to borough council.
recreation? There was never a rec.
Where are you looking?
Page 4, number 9, the title Recreation Council, which we had a Recreation Commission.
Right, that's for matters that relate to the park. So there's multiple references in there where it says park rules and regulations are determined by the Recreation Council. Well, the Recreation Council no longer exists, so then those regulations need to be made by Borough Council.
Anyone have any other questions?
Wait, see if there's anything else.
Okay.
On page 15, on section J, the swimming pools, when was that adopted? Where is it? I couldn't locate it.
What chapter are you in?
J, section 225-502.
Well, that would have been a zoning regulation, and that would have been adopted at the time of the UCC. So 2590? 500.
I couldn't locate it to
It was probably in there in 1992,
compare it.
when the zoning ordinance was updated back then.
Does that include the EDC?
Well, that's separate.
That is separate, that's what I thought.
The section was enacted with the original zoning ordinance in 1998 prior to the adoption of the State Uniform Construction Code. So we revised to say that swimming pools shall be protected by barrier requirements set forth in current adopted international swimming pool and spa code.
And right above that, rooming houses, a new subsection D4 is added to read as follows, rooming house. Is that for something that Airbnb or what's rooming houses
Actually, they have a whole definition of a rooming house. It'd be almost like the YMCA, whenever they have a rooming house where you would like go in and rent a room for a night, usually have a shared bathroom, but we don't have any rooming
The
houses.
Hotel used to be
No,
a
so-
rooming house.
Yeah.
But that was just a clarification because a rooming house was allowed in the traditional neighborhood and central business districts, but it wasn't listed as a use in the central business district by conditional approval. So that's the only change that was made there. Just
That's
making
not
sure that.
It's not changing.
No, it's just making sure that it's calling out that that use needs to be by conditional approval, but it was not listed, so.
Okay.
And you're questioning the two with regards to chapter 30. So that was the last, when that was created was 1988. But since then, there's been Act 54 of 2011, and subsequently Act 43 of 2012, which clarified those stipulations with regards to municipal administrators or managers. And that's where that language came from.
And there's actually a new provision that takes effect December 1. So it's accounting for that.
Any other questions, problems?
Those are good questions, though. Those are good questions.
All in favor?
Voted
For
aye.
advertising.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye, motion carries. Okay, consider approval of the request for $10,000 from Southern York County Baseball to perform field maintenance at Veterans Park.
I move we spend the give them the $10,000 for the field maintenance.
And motion,
Second.
and a second. Any
The point was
discussion?
made, I think you made it, Andy, last time, it's not their field, it's the borough's,
Yes.
borough's field.
Or was it, oh yeah, well, yes, it's field maintenance at Veterans Park. This came up at the budget meeting. Right now, we have, the field is sunken, and it's unsafe really to play because the balls come up and they hit the berm. So you basically have a ramp that comes right up into children's faces for the ball to come up. Every year, Southern York County Youth Club goes in and does basic field maintenance. This is beyond basic field maintenance. It's actually bringing the level of the field up 4 inches, I think, and leveling it so that it will drain properly and be able to play. This field is used by Mason-Dixon softball. It's used by SYC baseball and softball, and the church league plays there too. So this actual cost of this upgrade, I think, is $17,000, and they've asked us to pay for $10,000 of it. And that's the motion on the table right now. Since it happened in budget, I just wanted to bring it to everybody else. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay. Public comment policy. We had talked about a public comment policy, and we didn't want to do anything drastic, so what I did was, we handed it out, or no? I just took Robert's rules and pulled out the policy statements from Robert's rules, and the solicitor, Lisa, kind of review it also. And we don't really have to talk about this tonight. It actually gives some things too. It tells me that as chair I should shut up. And it does say that chair and council may ask follow-up questions, and we should all model courtesy and respect. So it's not just for the public, it's also for the chair and for council members. and see if we want to make a motion for next month.
I have been against putting a restraint on citizens and their free speech. I went over in previous meetings.
Again, this is
With-
not a constraint on
with-
anyone's free speech.
And to my surprise, if Andrew would like to go in the back and pull resolution 2018-1, since 2018, this council has had a resolution on public policy for speaking. Dennis was the president at the time, and he signed it. And so there already has been one. Has a 5-minute limit. Reads pretty much verbatim of what you handed out a couple months ago. I don't understand, this is just like the telecommunications, a lot of time was spent on that, I think that was the one. We already had a telecommunication policy, you know.
Is that an ordinance or
A
is?
resolution.
It's a
This council
resolution.
proposed a resolution. This is a resolution that is only 6 years old. And the council has said, the last several meetings, we need to have something in place. You can't say anything unless you do. Well, you've had one the whole time. No other borough around us has one. I still don't think that we should have one, but you already have one that reads 99.9% of what you already asked for.
If we get a copy of that, then
Stewartstown has one. They have it, well, they have it written right at the bottom of their page, 5-minute limit.
Yes, everybody does.
Yeah.
But this council is saying you can't do that and you can't enforce that unless you have a public comment policy. So they've been trying to create one when they've already had one for the past 6 years, is what I'm saying, Resolution 2018-1.
Okay, if we're not gonna do anything on this tonight, can you make copies of that resolution and, or send it out to each of us?
Well, I mean,
Because
that's all-
we're
that's
not
all-
aware of it.
That's all well
That's-
and good, but my hearing from council was that they didn't want to have any time limits, and that they only wanted to have what regulation, and this is right from Robert's rules, so it said, you know, I'll read it. I mean, it says, this is an opportunity for members of the public to inform council about their views on agenda items and other issues. The meeting itself belongs to the governing body. The public does not participate in the decision-making. Instead, it provides input to the governing body, which takes the input into consideration in making its decisions. Please be considerate of time and respectful to the speakers, but it doesn't have a limit on time, which is what I had heard we were against. All speakers are required to address the remarks to the chair. Council may not respond to speakers. However, the chair may provide brief factual information if appropriate. The chair must not, under any circumstances, enter into back and forth exchanges with the public, and council members must refrain from speaking during this portion of the meeting. The chair and council may ask follow-up questions. We should all model courtesy and respect. The public has a right to make critical and harsh remarks regarding council members. Members of the public do not have the right to disrupt the meeting. It's very simple and straightforward, has no time limits, and I think this would replace that resolution.
And even if there was a resolution in place, a resolution could have been done 30 years ago, and a new resolution is going to make sure that the policies are current. It's no different than amending your miscellaneous fee schedule every year. Everything else that we do by resolution, it can be updated and replaced, and that's why a lot of the language is usually in there to say any previous versions are hereby null and void, and this is the current version that this council wishes to utilize.
All right, so basically what this would do as a resolution, it would take the place of 2018-1 and eliminate the 5-minute time limit, which is what you wanted to do. So I was trying to be accommodating to what you were saying.
I don't know what there is tonight. You're doing a lot of extra work. If every couple of years you want to update, there's already one. So if you want to do this, then I guess you need to review the one that's already standing and revoke it and do this. But I guess that's
No,
for
it just takes the place of it.
another meeting.
Yeah, take a look at it and see if you want it in the form of a resolution. I would entertain a motion to put this into a resolution for next
I still say the rules and guidelines of Pennsylvania cover meetings already.
Well,
This-
that's what this is doing.
This is a part of Robert's rules, correct? And we've already adopted Robert's rules, so
That is correct.
really, we've already adopted this.
In theory.
Am I right?
So, again, double.
But I think, well, it's not, it's only costing us the time we're spending talking about it, Erica. And if it's important to you, and it's important to me to have something on the table, I think that it's worth spending the couple minutes and talking. I mean, I just pulled this out of Robert's rules. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, if you're worried about this.
No, not you spending your time, spending their time and spending our time of 4-hour meetings, that's what I'm worried about. But the Pennsylvania laws already cover this, and this, again, is already covered in Robert's rules, so there doesn't need to be a resolution, it's just the facilitator of the meeting. Before any of this needs to be done, I think the council should come to a conclusion if they want you to be the facilitator, because it all comes back to the facilitator of the meeting, running the meeting, keeping it in order, and keeping it moving forward. And I think that's where the breakdown of it, as harsh as that sounds, is a lot of the time. And consistency. Consistency is important. And,
Okay,
it goes back on the
Kindness Week proclamation. This was something that came up through the Borough news, and this was something that other areas are doing, and Mayor Butcher and myself thought this was worth putting before. We need a motion on a proclamation.
Wait a minute, let me have we have a proclamation. We've already drafted. Let me read it. Should I read it out loud?
It's in our packet.
It's in the package, just so
Yeah.
everybody else knows. I found out about this through the Lions Club. I'm a member of the Lions, and the gentleman, Kevin Smith, came to do a presentation. But what they've done is they've established a kindness week, the week of November 9th through the 16th, where people are recognized for the kindnesses that they do and how they act and react in a positive manner. We have a blood drive coming up, and I think that's a perfect time to say thank you and for your kindness and the ability to give life to another person. But I'll read the proclamation. I'll try to read it quickly. Whereas kindness is an expression of love that brings out the best in others and in ourselves, with overwhelmingly positive implications for health and broader peace and well-being. And whereas kindness is the heartbeat of the world that, like a life vest, keeps us afloat. It makes us believe in ourselves, instills hope, builds self-esteem, and fosters correctness. And whereas experiencing and performing acts of kindness are known to provide greater happiness and optimism, reduced feelings of helplessness and depression, and an increased sense of self-worth. Whereas acts of kindness often inspire others to pay it forward in meaningful ways, thereby having significant coattails in which their influence extends well beyond the initial acts themselves. And whereas no act of kindness is too small to make a difference and change a life, and anyone can make a lasting impact and change the world through actions of kindness. Whereas as humanity's greatest asset, kindness is a choice that should be encouraged, recognized, rewarded, and celebrated to achieve more of it locally and beyond. Therefore, in conjunction with World Kindness Day, the Borough Council of New Freedom of New Freedom, Pennsylvania, York County hereby proclaim Kindness Week worldwide effective November 9th through the 16th, 2024. During this time, individuals, families, schools, businesses, faith-based and service organizations, and all community constituents and ecosystems are encouraged to personify the theme, see the good, be the good, go the extra mile for kindness in various ways, limited only by the bounds of imagination and creativity. Through this proclamation and broad community call to action, all are challenged to perform kind acts, big and small, and subsequently pay it forward for the collective betterment of one another and for the greater good. Proclaim this 21st day of October, 2024. Let me play a little, I'd like to, this gentleman, Kevin Smith, lost his wallet. Didn't know what he was going to do. Money was in it, license was in it, charge cards were in it. Next thing you know, he looks, somebody knocks at the door, looks through his Ring camera, and there's a woman standing there, and she's holding his wallet. He opens the door, and she said, well, I saw your address. Is this your wallet? I wanted to return it. And in that one little act of kindness that that woman performed for him, he thought, how can I pass this on? And he has established this week of kindness and offering kindness citations to people that do offer kindnesses to others, and it's gone worldwide. He just came back from, where did he come back from? Italy? I think he came back from Italy. Lost my, but let me just play this for you.
It's not a good sign.
Oh, it worked earlier. He's reloaded the player and tried.
You're not getting much emotion there,
No, I guess not.
I'll make that motion to adopt it, while we're waiting for it to load.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good.
Vote is aye.
That's because I don't have any internet. I didn't need internet earlier. It worked, didn't it?
I think we're gonna move on.
That's all right, that's okay, but I want to hand these out to our members of the police department has also going to be a big part of this. They're going to hand out citations. Each of us, I think, can also, will have citations for you to pass out. If you're out, you see somebody, pick up the neighbor's, an elderly neighbor's garbage can and take it into their house, and you know it's not their house, they should be eligible for an act of kindness citation. So I think this is a wonderful thing, especially right now, to remind us to be kind to each other and our neighbors.
Thank you, Kim.
And thank you, Lions Club, also as being a part of this, and I'm sure you're going to be giving out some citations also. As a matter of fact, you should probably receive one for everything and all the good you do. The motto, "We serve," in itself deserves a, I think it did give you a citation last year, so. Thank you for everything you guys do.
Marge Goodfellow, Park Feasibility Study.
Yeah, basically everybody has a copy of the completed feasibility study report that was initiated by council, pretty much to go through, evaluate the park in its entirety, the buildings, complete a building assessment, survey the public as far as what kind of improvements they would like to see in the future, and identify those top priorities, and then work with the advisory group to incorporate those suggested improvements into a kind of sketch plan, and then that'll transition into the master site plan phase. So this is the completed report. If there's any questions or anything that council would like highlighted, we can go through that. Some of the top citizen priorities were basically providing shade, providing restroom, bathroom facilities, making the facilities ADA compliant, which is something that council has addressed in the past or heard from residents that was a desire, and then look at overall site improvements.
This gives us the ability then to go forward and apply for grants to make this a reality.
Yeah, this
at
is
some point.
one of the first steps. So the next step would be what's already been authorized is that master site plan development. And that basically means the project's ready to go to bid, out to construction, pending award of any funds as we work through that process. Availability of funds as we work through that process.
I think it's an important note that, because there was confusion about previous drawings that have involved the park, that these are just possibilities as they state on here. So there's no confusion moving forward.
What about in 2015, 35,000 was spent on a master site plan on a 15-year plan, which we're 9 years into that 15-year plan. Where are all of those documents and all of that money that was spent on there? So between these two feasibility studies, that's almost 100,000 in feasibility studies for this park. Nothing's going to be used on the first master site plan, 15-year plan.
Who's that directed to?
The council, like, it's a lot of money on feasibility.
Agreed, but I wasn't sitting here. So no.
Dennis, you were sitting here, 2015. March of 2015, the engineer was even here at the meeting to review it. It was 5 phases over 15 years, which we're now in year 9 of.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess council just likes to spend money, I guess, I don't know.
I feel like that's an open-ended accusation. There's the vast majority of us had nothing to do with that. Correct?
But it doesn't matter if you didn't have anything to do it. You came into a time where there was already a master site plan done, a feasibility study. And now it's, you know, money has been thrown out again.
What did the master site plan say?
That's what I'm asking.
Where's it at? Was what was done in 2019 and 2020 part of that?
Hopefully you have all that information, because you shouldn't
If-
destroy
if-
documents unless it comes before council.
Oh, 2019 and 2020 were a part of that. There
Well,
was
if you're
3
asking me
phases.
where they are, why am I supposed to know? You're supposed to have them.
Right, because I would spend my time looking at the possibility of doing a feasibility study if there was also one already on file and that was available in the borough office. That sounds like a waste of taxpayer dollars and my time.
Where did that 35,000 go to that engineer then? They presented it at an official borough minutes, a council meeting. Where
Again,
is it?
as Ryan stated, it wasn't here. The files aren't in this office.
That's not an excuse.
Yeah, the plan was on the wall out here for a year.
Again, that's
I'm just trying to figure out where that came from.
It was done. I have no doubt that something was done. But there's nothing to find, nothing that's on file. That's really unfortunate.
I think the important issue here, I mean, the Lions Club joined us in putting this together, and other citizens came forward and volunteered information. This was supposed to be the lead-in to applying for grants. I mean, going in, looking at things in a rearview mirror and saying, well, why did we do that? I don't know why we did that, because I wasn't here then. I was on rec council at the time, and I do remember everybody put together a plan, but and after that, I lost touch, and I don't really know. So I mean, I guess prior to approving going forward with this plan, if we would have known that we were supposed to be looking for one, but I mean, if there's not one available, that's the purpose of this study. It's to move forward now with a new plan for the park, new concession areas, new bathrooms, and that's why we did it.
I know we brought it up several times, because we kept saying, there's a plan. There was a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Well, yeah,
it included bathrooms,
but
it included water
how
fountains,
much engineering
pavilions.
was done on it.
Well, we had it.
$35,000.
Yeah, we had it drawn up.
Well, I'm sure that if you
I have
said
a
it
copy
was
of it.
$35,000, I would be willing to bet that was only for phase 1. I don't think there was any engineering done on any other phase.
It was a 5-phase plan.
I have a copy of it at home.
Anyway.
So if you have a copy of it, why didn't you bring it in? Because Andrew couldn't find it.
I didn't know he couldn't find it.
So why didn't you say something when you knew that you had it?
I've said it 3 or 4 times in the past 4 years.
It's something that should be on file.
I don't disagree. It should be. But if it's not, it's not. The only thing we can do is move forward.
We don't know, I mean, it could have been filed in a paper box, which a lot of things were.
Sounds like Mr. Schaefer has his work cut out for him.
So if we can't find it, we can't find it. If you want to see it, I can bring it in.
Again, this is the pen and the piece of paper. This is where we're moving forward from. And this is what we have. Are there any questions on this document? Or do we want to look at it for a month and talk about it next month?
There's nothing really to vote on or discuss, right?
No, there really
This is
isn't.
the report.
Just moving forward, hopefully, there are grants available, which is kind of what spurred this along, is to go after the grants for development. At least the buildings would probably fall under those, that piece of grant.
Don't we need to discuss the plans that are in here and how much they're gonna cost, right?
We don't have any,
Well, I don't
this is
think
just a
we have-
feasibility study.
Yeah, this is just the first step. So take it home, take a look at it, and we can talk about it again at our next meeting. We'll leave it on the agenda. Well, I don't know, but again, I'm not sure where we're gonna get with it tonight. I mean, it doesn't need approved, it's done, we're gonna move forward. And, all right, preliminary subdivision and land development plan for the New Haven development. First up is consider approval of the waiver request. We have a presentation.
I'm here if you have any questions. we've been working on this plan for 3 or 4 years now. Just a few months back, you approved the shared road maintenance agreement with Shrewsbury Borough. We've been working with your engineering firm and our engineer trying to resolve all the details, and I think they've agreed now that the plan totally meets your ordinance. We have 4 waiver requests, and they've supported those waiver requests. If you want me to go into those one by one, or however you want me to address that, I can do that. I can just go real quickly. The first one is a waiver for Phase 1 environmental. The reason we requested that is because it's basically a cornfield, and not basically, it is a cornfield. There are no improvements, no buildings. There's really no reason to need a Phase 1. Your engineering firm agreed with that theory. Do you want me to go through them one by one, or do you want to act on them as I go through them, or how do you want to deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, council has a copy of the letter from Warehouse as far as the borough's plan review. It does indicate the waivers, and then the other comments there are just administrative, which we've worked through, signature blocks, rec fees, tap fees, those kind of
Right,
things. So,
sure.
yeah, each waiver request was supplemented by Warehouse and Ritu, the developer's engineer, as far as justification there. So everyone has that in their packet. You can go through each one if you'd like to.
If there's any question on any one of them, I can answer that, but basically we need you to approve the waivers and then anything that you need from us, I can answer.
I would do this. I would entertain a motion for the first, which is to consider approval of a waiver request for the Phase 1 environmental site assessment.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. My vote is aye, motion carries. Consider approval of a waiver request. This is for a traffic impact study, and I'm guessing it's for the initial years.
Right. This is for the horizon year. We did a traffic study. That was all reviewed by your engineer. Everyone's agreed to it. This just gets out to horizon years, and both our engineer and your engineer agreed that there really isn't any change. There's no real need to do an in-depth study for that. So that was a waiver request.
Can I ask, Terry, would you be willing to answer the question here?
Sure.
Did the planning commission discuss traffic impact? Because this is connected to another development.
Yes. It is connected to another development.
Yeah. Did the borough's planning commission have a particular concern about traffic impact? And, you know, it's not just the development itself. You know, you can build a development.
We didn't go into detail on the traffic impact. We looked at what the engineer said and basically went with his recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, the road, of course, the road that goes out to Shrewsbury Township and Kirshner Road, and
Yeah.
our engineer and your engineer agreed on the traffic study, the counts and everything. It only got into the horizon year concept, and both your engineer and our engineer agreed that it wasn't necessary. That was it.
When was the traffic study done?
Yes, the traffic study was done. There were counts done on Kirshner Road. There's a full volume of a traffic study. This is just one other supplement in your ordinance that asks for a horizon year out in the future. And because of, I'm not an engineer, but both your engineer and our engineer agreed that wasn't necessary.
When was it done?
When was
You
what?
said the traffic study was done?
Oh, yes, the traffic study was done. There's a whole,
When?
for this project this year.
So the traffic study was done in 2024?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. The traffic study was done. There were counts done at Kirshner Road. There were counts done, everything. The engineers sent that to your engineer. They reviewed it. There's something in your ordinance that proposes a horizon year out in the future. And because of that detail, both your engineer and our engineer agreed that there wouldn't be enough change to justify that additional study.
all the
Even though-
traffic that's coming from the new development and the people coming in from, that are gonna also come in from Freedom Hills?
I'm sorry, what was that?
All, the new development, all the cars that are gonna access, what is that, Kirshner? Access Kirshner, and all the cars that are gonna access Kirshner now from Freedom Hills, because they'll be able to come in Concord and go all the way out to Kirshner, and that's a dangerous curve. I mean, people coming in there at 50 miles an hour. I can't believe that a road study, a traffic study would not be concerned about that.
It was done.
You know
It was done.
how many accidents have been there without all this extra traffic? It's a concern I have.
50 miles per hour on what road?
On North Constitution,
A traffic study was
coming
done.
into town and
A
going out.
full traffic study was done. There were counts done. Everything was totally done. For the development, for the increased development, that was all done. And Andy, if you want to elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, the complete traffic study that's required by the borough's ordinances was completed. What this section relates to is the horizon year. So looking out in the future, it's still including that information for 34 lots. That's still included. This is just an additional stipulation that's really not necessary or needed for a development of this size. If you're looking at a large development with, we'll say, 200 homes or 200 multifamily units, this would be something that we would want to incorporate into that traffic impact study.
All the traffic counts were done. There's a volume this thick of the traffic study. There was just one other little, as Andy described it, that's the waiver we're requesting, that's all.
This is just looking out to the future.
Well, what about the future of the VFW leasing the land for 99 years? Right there on Constitution, just diagonal from this.
It isn't.
Any kind of land use was included in that traffic impact study as well as, in this case, the wind and HOP. Yeah.
Trust me, the traffic study was terribly in-depth.
What was the outcome of it?
Your engineer approved it. They approved that we were meeting all the conditions for the traffic study. And they agreed with that.
I don't think we have a motion yet, so I would entertain a motion to consider waiving the additional traffic impact study. I'm not sure what a horizon year is. How far out is a horizon?
10 years.
10 years, so it's 10 years out. So, but all the other traffic studies have been done. This is just an additional that would be used for larger development. So for this size development, the engineer is recommending that this be waived. So I would entertain the motion to consider approval of the waiver of the traffic impact study for the horizon year.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion?
Do you account for any future building on the township side?
I think we're not doing that study, but the traffic study itself, yes, it looked at the potential for what could be developed in the township side, yes.
And the township side is larger lots, is that right?
The township side is the receiving area. You have to transfer agricultural rights from other areas, and the bigger problem is sewer capacity. That's why we're not developing there. There's no sewer capacity in the township. So we don't know when or if ever that piece of property will be developed.
Isn't there also wetland there, Phil?
There's wetland, yeah, there's hardly any of it that can be developed. I mean, most of it's wetland, stream area, everything on the north side of Kirshner is wetlands. Everything coming through the bottom between the railroad track and the farmhouse is stream channel, and they have a critical environmental area. The part above the barn, most of that's steep slope. So there's very little that can go on that property in the township.
And if there were other developments.
We'd have to do another traffic
We'd have to
study.
do another
We have
traffic
to do another traffic study. And Shrewsbury Township has reviewed the traffic study their engineers have, and it does come out to Kirshner Road, and their engineers have approved the traffic study and the proposed waiver. Well, they don't have the waiver, though. They don't have that requirement.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I vote as aye, motion carries. Consider approval of the waiver request for the steep slope conservation setback.
That ordinance requirement says that we can't grade within a certain distance of a neighboring property owner. That makes perfect sense if we're grading to send water to somebody else's property, and we're grading to get water so that it doesn't go to their property. We're creating a swale so that none of our stormwater will go on a neighbor's property. So we're asking for a waiver so that we can create that swale to divert any water that would go to the neighbor.
Anyone have any questions for Bill? I would entertain a motion to consider approval of the waiver request on the steep slope conservation setback to install the swell.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Waiver request for rate controls post-construction peak close.
This is a little bit out of above my pay grade.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
But the engineers have they worked for a long time trying to resolve exactly how they wanted to deal with the stormwater basins and things like that. And this is more a proposal that came from your engineer that we agreed to, so it requires a waiver even though it came from that direction. So that's what it's all about.
Okay, I would entertain a
Well,
motion.
let me add one more thing real quickly. We do have our NPDES permit. We have been to soil conservation and DEP, and they've approved our whole stormwater and our ENS control. So we've got that full approval from soil conservation and DEP.
Just out of curiosity, it doesn't really affect anything, but is the water flow going to be going towards the wetlands to increase the wetlands, or what happens with the water flow?
It eventually goes towards the stream that's on the other side of Kirshner Road. It all drains, the whole stormwater system's in Shrewsbury Township. So everything that's coming from New Freedom is draining over the basins that are in Shrewsbury Township, and the townships agreed to all this. It all discharges into a basin that's down below the barn, and it eventually discharges into the wetlands across the street, yes. So everything is, in fact, there's no stormwater, other than the pipes and the collection system in New Freedom Borough, everything else is in Shrewsbury Township.
I would entertain a motion to grant a waiver for post-construction peak flows.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye. Finally, consider approval of the preliminary subdivision and land development plan for the New Haven development.
I'm going to explain, or I can elaborate too, on the preliminary plan and what that allows you to do compared to coming in for final plan approval with each stage or each phase.
It's up to you, I can do that. First of all, the Shrewsbury Township has approved the plan. We have their approval. Of course, there's no new lots being developed in Shrewsbury Township, but there is a road being built there, and all the stormwater facilities are there. We will be coming back to this board for a final plan approval. This is only preliminary. This allows us to start construction and actually do the infrastructure construction. We're going to be coming back. We plan on doing it in 3 phases, more or less. There'll be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The first phase is about 11 lots, right off of Concord. You know, I've been doing land development in Southern York County for 42 years. I think that all of our projects have turned out pretty well, and we want this to be a great project too. We'll be working, we're actually replacing some water main for the borough on Concord that was needed to be upgraded. We're going to be widening the road at Concord as part of the plan. So all this has been a real workout, trying to work with the borough as best we can to make sure it's a first-class project, and that's our intent.
Where does Concord end? Is it, you have to extend it, or is it already all?
It dead ends right now, and we're going to pick up where it dead ends and take it through this development into Shrewsbury Township over to Kirshner Road.
What part of this are you showing stage one? Some of those, it hasn't been completed for all the different houses that are there yet.
Oh, no. The existing Concord Road, I think, has about 7 or 8 houses on it, something like that, in the borough. And again, we'll be replacing the water main and widening the road to meet the standards that are in the rest of the project over there.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary subdivision land development plan for the New Haven development. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we will do a great job, I promise.
Okay, consider authorizing advertisement of the 25-27 Mowing contract. This is just to advertise, right?
This is just to advertise. We put this contract together internally and worked with staff to go over the different locations to make sure that we have the right locations identified as part of the current mowing contract, and then basically put together the verbiage that's at the front of the document as well as the bid form, just to try to make sure that this is included for any kind of future contract.
Does this change any of the areas that we currently have mowed under contract?
It does not.
Who mows under the, beside the community center and the trees? Because all those branches have been taken out and it's all grass now. What's that?
Where are you talking about?
South of the community center. The trees,
Forest.
Back in the woods.
yeah, that's all grass.
It has been.
Yeah, but it's not in here for them to mow.
Yeah, Public Works does that, yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
you
thought you were
guys
talking
mow
about
that
the
in the
side of the
trees, we
building.
want to keep it that way? That's fine if you guys want to mow it.
We try to mow at least once a month, sooner if need be, if there's events or something there, but.
Yeah, I just didn't know who mowed it and thought it should be in here probably.
Part of it, I think, is because there are branches and they're, it's a little.
They've really taken good care of that. That's beautiful, there's woods up there.
Do we want a motion for this first?
Yes,
To
Joe.
authorize advertising.
Yeah, make a motion that we, for advertisement of the 2025 through 2027 mowing contract.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions also in line with what Kim was asking. A couple of them, and maybe it applies to the other ones as well. But specifically, Quail Ridge Park, there's a grassy area there that is not included with that area.
What's the number?
I'm sorry, location number 19, sorry. I was looking for a page, but it's, yeah, location 19.
Yeah, that's the retention pond.
Okay, so that's going to lead me to my next question, Country Manor, location 20.
Yes.
And there was another detention pond that we don't have on here. Actually, I think two more. Location 18, Warwick Road. And location 16, Meadow Street, Stormwater Basin.
Right, just basically mowing the edges, because you can't really determine when you're gonna be able to mow those retention ponds, and Public Works is taking care of that on an as-needed basis.
But how come Country Manor's different?
Only reason that one is because it was maintained in the past that way. Yeah.
I was hoping there was gonna be a reason to pass that along. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize advertisement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Consider approval of the low bid from Clearview Excavating in the amount of $153,200 for the Orwood Road Bee Tree Stormwater Improvement Project.
So moved.
Motion?
I'll second.
Second. You want to fill us in on why the increase was?
Yeah, so unfortunately, through the process, the borough only received one bid. There was a change to the bid scope, and that was based on the electric service line to the Bee Tree pump station. Thought basically that during construction, we'd be able to work around that, but throughout the bid process, we realized that wasn't feasible. So that drove the cost by about $30,000 to do that electrical work, because that triggered additional requirements with Med Ed as far as putting in additional work. Yeah, additional work, yeah. Additional facilities. So that really drove the price from what council, when you authorized advertisement, on top of normal increases. So council does have the ability to reject all bids and rebid, or accept this bid.
Do you think we would get any additional bids if we rebid it?
It all depends on contractors' availability at this point.
Andrew, how imminent is this work in terms of you have to get it done ASAP, or if it rains hard, it's going to be a problem, or, you know?
Yeah, I mean, any additional rainstorm that hits that area is going to cause the same impact that previously happened. So the sooner the better. I don't think it's any imminent danger at this point, because it took time to get to that point, but we're trying to eliminate that for any future issues.
I mean, you can't make contractors bid, I know that, but I mean, it's always nice to get more than one bid. Now, sometimes it's not gonna happen if contractors look at it and say, not interested, too small, or something, I don't want to fool them.
Right.
Could a contractor see that and say, I know there's not other ones, so I could rebid this even higher than what I did since it's being rebid?
That's an interesting point.
It's really a possibility, yeah.
Say that again?
I was just wondering if we decided not to take this, they could know that nobody else bid it and that we want other bids. They can then turn around and, I don't know, add another 30,000, whatever.
Yeah, or they could look at it and say, yeah, we can beat that price, and you know, we know it's been bid already, so.
But that's what I'm saying, they'd be upping their own bid because they were the only one that originally bid.
Jake?
Andy, the way that the bid process works, though, they don't know if any other companies put a bid in, correct?
But if they're told to rebid it.
But, yeah, but, I mean, we had numerous contractors that took the packet.
Yeah.
They showed interest.
Yeah.
The guy that has the bid in front of us is not the only contractor that showed up. He didn't show up to the pre-bid meeting. The contractor that showed up to the pre-bid meeting probably washed his hands of the deal when he found out all the extra work that MedEd was making us do. So there were other multiple contractors that were interested in the job.
How many did pick up?
I was thinking it was 10 that were actually GCs.
Oh, okay.
So there was interest in the job, it just, they didn't place a bid.
This is a 65% increase, and you said $30,000, but it's over $60,000?
Right, that was just part of it. The rest is what the bid was.
Is that, I mean, I don't know how, you know, the engineer himself.
Well, obviously, the engineer never tries to be the low bidder, but the next agenda item is the same situation. I think the current market has a lot to do with it. In this case, there was additional work. Outside of that, I can't explain why this particular bidder put that number in, other than that's what he thought the job was worth.
Why wouldn't the engineer know how to spec this properly with the work that was to be required?
What we just said, because MedEd came back, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna come to Andy's aid here. The engineering firm gave us a quote in August. That's what their estimate was. It was after August that we found out that MedEd was requiring all this additional electrical work. When you're dealing with scale wage, you're dealing with prevailing wage, you're dealing with electrical components. Like we've talked about this before. Last year, that grocery cart that you walk out of Giant with cost you $100. The same items this year cost you well over $200. The amount of materials and stuff is just astronomical. That is why it costs, and the engineer told us during the meeting. He said, if this would have been what we did in August, I'd say, hey, no go. But he said, we did not have that updated until now, due to the fact that MedEd was so late getting back to us on what needed to be upgraded per code to do the project.
Could it have been pulled back?
Could what have been pulled back?
You said you found out in August, this is dated October.
That's when they gave us the estimate. We did pull it back, and then but they still didn't give us notice of what it was gonna be. MedEd you don't deal with, it's just, they have you
But
over the barrel.
MedEd told you in August?
No, MedEd did not tell us in August, they told us in the beginning of October.
I think it's just an additional scope issue. The only question really we have on the table is, do we go back out and try to get a second round of bidding, or do we accept this bid and move on?
I think, and the reason I asked, you know, and I'm glad Andy told us, if you got 10 bidders, I mean, that stuff happens, but if you have 10 bidders look at it, 10 bidders that are interested, and only one of them bids on it, then if you rebid it, you probably get you may not get 10 bidders again. You may get 5 bidders, and you may get a higher one this time, you know. I didn't realize that there were actually 10 plan holders or something that looked at it. And when it comes to MedEd, my experience with MedEd is, you know, you do as you're told. I mean, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, there's no way to negotiate that.
And I know we talked about this when the bid was authorized for advertisement, but we will be utilizing $98,500 of remaining ARPA money that must be allocated to a project by the end of this year for this. The hope, obviously, when that was done, that would be sufficient to pay for the project in full.
This is rate job.
Say again?
Yeah.
We don't have any choice about that either. I mean, it's state law.
Well, I think given that,
I don't know, we just only having one bidder. Such a huge increase.
Well, again, it was a scoping, it wasn't just like they decided to charge us more money. It was actual scope.
We had one bidder, we only had two bidders pick up plans, I'd have said, yeah, all right, maybe it's worth a shot. But if you had 10 pickup plans, and only one's really interested in it, you could bid it again, and you're probably gonna get something similar or worse. I think you may end up less.
Shouldn't it go out with the proper scope? Specs? It went out with improper specs, correct?
They were amended. They were all amended.
Yeah,
The contractors knew, that's why they decided not to bid on
And
it,
the time frame was extended as well.
to be amended, yes.
Yeah, everybody got an amendment. They always get sent out. Contract is amended, and everybody gets the same information. All the contractors have the same information. Bid on the same thing.
Legally, they have to.
You have to do that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second on the floor, and I think we discussed why it should be approved, so. All in favor of approving the low bid from Clearview Excavating for $153,200 for the Warwick Road B-Tree Stormwater Improvement Project, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. My vote is aye, motion carries. Okay, consider, you said there's another one here? Did I miss it?
Should be next, yeah, that's the next.
Treatment. Oh, this is right. Okay. All right, this is for the aeration system improvements at the sewage treatment plant.
I was having a hard time identifying, is this phase 1, phase 2?
Phase 1.
There is
The whole time it's been phase 1.
right, there is no phase 2 yet.
Phase 1 was supposed to be 2.5, and this one says it's 3.8.
That's what was authorized for advertisement, and that number was provided to council before authorization for advertisement.
And this one also came in. When these specs went out, were they current? Were they from when it was passed in 22 or 23? 23 September passed? When? Like, it's over 300,000 on things that are known to have gone up. How current were these specs when they went out?
Well, it's only 9%
Specs-
over the
specs
engineering.
are current.
Well, for their estimate of 3.8, they're saying it was 3.8. So when this went out to bid, they were saying that they estimate it's 3.8.
Correct. And that was current at the time.
Of this year.
Yes.
But then they talk about wages going up, labor costs, concrete. Those were all known factors for the last 3 years.
Well, no. Why would they have been known factors for the last 3 years? We didn't know what labor rates were going to be in October of this year. I mean, this is saying that inflation, labor costs, supply chain constraints continue to impact construction jobs and prices have escalated since the date that the engineer's cost estimate was completed. So that's
You know the date of
the
the
cost of concrete.
estimate
The
completion.
cost of concrete products rose 5% in the first two quarters of 2024. And this is an increase of 9%. And I'm sure that, you know, PSI coming up with a bid has to include some inflation factor and in their bid too. So this is 9% above the engineer's bid, and they're saying it's because of some supply chain and rising costs.
Yeah, I'm sure, to your point, Andy, that contractors are gonna look down the road as to when I'm gonna actually do the work. What am I gonna pay for concrete? What am I gonna pay for cement to go through the concrete or whatever? So it's sort of a crapshoot for the contractor. They have to make some kind of educated guess about what's gonna happen in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know, whenever they come up with a bid, their suppliers only hold the bid for maybe 30 days. They might ask them to hold it a little longer, but, you know, I mean, 30 days from today, if interest rates go up a little bit and prices go up a little bit, it eats away every bit of the profit. So, I mean, I understand why the bid is the bid.
That's between the last one with the well and this, that's almost 400,000 over. You're not even getting into change orders that I'm sure aren't gonna happen.
I mean, I know, when I was working, there's a couple contractors out here that have done work for us, and they're pretty good contractors. They're telling you that's what they think it's gonna cost them when it's time to do the work.
Well, RK&K goes into great detail to talk about the second apparent low bidder, CPP Construction. They're the third low bidder. M2 Construction is the second low bidder.
No,
No?
the low bidder is PSI.
The second. There, we'll go ahead and read the back of the page, second paragraph. They go into great detail about the second lowest bidder.
The second apparent low bidder.
That's M2.
No, that's CPP. Read the paragraph.
M2.
Well, I know it is, but there was errors when this packet got given to us in '23 about dimensions of buildings and things. You know, I don't know. It's just a bit concerning. And again, why wouldn't the engineer account for inflation? I mean, they would know, right?
The bid ready cost estimate has a date of August 24.
So they were confident August of '24, it would be 3.8 million.
That's the date of it, which is the same document that was provided to council.
Well, they talk about the first 2 quarters of '24, but this was updated in August. I'm questioning just, you know, 300,000 plus. And then the 4.1 million, the 1.14 million grant
Correct.
will be taken off of that
Correct.
fully, and then the remainder of that divvied out to,
According to the capital improvements of the, no, according to the capital improvement schedule and the proportionate share.
which doesn't go on usage.
It does not.
Usage is the actual usage of the plant. This is a capital improvement.
And how is the proportionate share figured?
Capital improvements, 62% to Shrewsbury Borough Authority, 35% to Freedom Borough, and 3% to Railroad. And there's, I'm rounding the numbers, there's decimals in there on all three.
Yeah, that was a good average. It's
close.
Yeah.
And so the bond that we took will cover our portion?
Actually, well, it wasn't a bond, it was a general obligation note, but there's enough cash on hand in the sewer fund to pay for this without touching those proceeds. But those are built reserves for emergencies as well. A portion of that, not all of it.
And this 3.8 is getting through the end of '24, and then this phase 1 will be done? Or has it been extended out? I saw notes where phase 1 should anticipate being done by the end of '24.
Well, that didn't happen, I mean, there's no way. It's October.
Well, I know, I don't know how much work's going into it, but that's my last record that I had was, I located.
Well, that was the hope, but it's based
Yeah.
on the permit process and the bidding process, so.
So
I mean,
when-
at this point, we're probably through 2026.
Just for phase 1.
Right, if there will only be a phase 2 if the municipalities that need the sewer capacity pay for that sewer capacity and pay for those upgrades. The current members of the treatment plant, member municipalities do not need that additional flow. This is internal to be able to treat effectively what those municipalities need and are receiving now.
This gets us to our NPDES permit capacity, meeting new NPDES requirements, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's it. But that's what the plant's permitted for already, even though the plant, right now, the plant won't meet DEP requirements at the permitted capacity. We have the benefit right now that we're, I don't know, a little over half, I guess. So we can do that, but it's plant capacity, yeah, it won't, and you need to have the improvement made to do that.
Do we make a motion on this guy?
I think, I'm not sure we did we make, I would entertain a motion to approve BSI Pumping Solutions Incorporated bid of $4,187,879 for the phase 1 upgrade.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Barring any different discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye. Motion carries. Okay. I don't have a letter.
No, it's just.
I don't either. Okay, consider accepting the resignation of Eric Aycock from the Planning Commission due to personal reasons.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye.
Get that advertised to the community.
Put it on Saturday. All right, solicitor.
Good evening. Dave did not give me any report for you, but I see that you're struggling with the public comment portions of the meeting, so I thought I would just give you a little bit of an overview to maybe help you with a framework for your public comment section. The context is important. Public comment occurs in a business meeting of the Borough Council. So that's one of the concepts of the framework that you want to remember. It's governed by a statute you all know as the Sunshine Law, which says that the public has the right to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, but there's a qualifier, which are or may be before the council prior to taking official action. So what that means is that the comments should relate to items of concern to the council, because this is a business meeting, and it's the context in which this is occurring. There is a federal case. It's decided by the federal court right below the Supreme Court. And it holds that the comment may be restricted to the times on your agenda when comment is called for. So that, for example, people calling out during the meeting are disrupting the meeting, and that is not protected by the First Amendment or by the Sunshine Law. And that's a federal court ruling. There is another federal court ruling that says that public bodies may confine the meetings and the comments to the subject matters that are of concern to the governmental agency, in this case, the Borough Council. The basis for it is that it's not just the speaker who has First Amendment rights, but it's everybody else in the room too. And they say that for the presiding officer of a public meeting to allow a speaker to hijack the proceedings would impinge on the First Amendment rights of the others in the room. So these are federal court rulings. So I just want to call this to your attention. I don't want to speak out of turn, but this is a very complex area. It is not subject to simple solutions or easy solutions. And now that you have actual experience with public comment, and you can see how it flows here, I think that you may be served well by having a comprehensive policy that incorporates the federal laws and the state laws that I have just cited, along with the Roberts Rules of Order, the 2018 policy, so forth. I think that you know, given the amount of conflict that you folks face here, that you as a council and your residents might be well served to kind of have a single document that's comprehensive and that provides notice and guidance to everyone, whether it's Mr. Bobby as president of the council, which president comes from the word presiding, or whether it's a member of the public who is trying to exercise his or her right to address you, to know what are the guidelines, what can they say, what is off limits. You know, so for example, a matter coming before council does not include something that's outside of council in another organization, or it doesn't allow ad hominem attacks, personal attacks on people that are unrelated to items before council. So that's my research, that's my guidance and suggestion as you consider how you want to move forward with these issues, because it has been very difficult and painful for you, and I understand that. So just wanted to put that out there for you, the hope that it can help you move forward in a constructive fashion.
Is that something that we might want him to draft just for us to peruse?
I think it's already been drafted. I think we just need to make a decision.
I think it just requires a facilitator who knows what he's doing.
So free speech doesn't necessarily mean free for all in a public meeting.
That's right. The
Because
federal
it's
court
public.
has said that you're in a context, okay? And the context is it's essentially a business meeting of the borough, okay? It's a governing body. And so, for example, let me use another example that might make it clear. Let's assume that you are visiting the Capitol, okay? The state capitol in Harrisburg. And you go on one of those tours. And the tour takes you into the legislatures, like the House of Representatives, for example. And they're in session. And they're talking about things. Your First Amendment right does not extend to shouting an opinion from the gallery up there down to the floor of the House and interrupting their business meeting. And likewise, you have the same rights as.
That's not actually true at all, Mrs. Solicitor.
So.
We have exponentially more power here at the local municipality than we do at the state. And you know that to be accurate.
Is exactly the type of thing that's not allowed.
Also denying public comment is I've had my hand raised for hours, minutes.
We can use the authority.
This is official oppression at its
Federal
finest.
court.
Not addressing the public who has concerns.
This type of interruption and the type of personal attacks and that type of thing that have been experienced and that we've heard expressed so eloquently and painfully here tonight by a number of people.
And it just requires a facilitator who knows Robert's Rules of Orders, 12th edition, and the Sunshine Act to just act accordingly. But then it takes the solicitor acting as the facilitator because the facilitator can't do his job.
Everybody has a copy of the September 2024 manager's report as well as the update on the grant application status. No real updates there, except I believe we did talk last month about FEMA pausing obligating funds under that hazard mitigation program based on the immediate needs funding, which obviously there are immediate needs based on recent natural disasters to fund those projects. So any questions on the manager's report or the grant report? As well, during the month of September, we did put out an employee satisfaction survey to all borough employees. You have those results in front of you. Basically, that was just something we put out to make sure that we're administering things on the right path and just provide any feedback to council. Any questions there on any of those?
How were the questions delivered? Handing out an iPad, computer?
They were delivered via email and sent to a link, and so there was no identifying factors of who actually was completing the survey.
Excellent. Yeah, I thought the questions were really good. I thought the results were actually, I'll say, a little bit better than I was expecting, but very happy to see that.
Thank you. No other questions? That's it?
No, that was a great idea to do that. I commend you for doing that. And that gives you some things that you can go back and say, oh, we might have a problem here. I gotta look at this.
Right, absolutely.
I commend you for doing that. I do have to ask, there's one thing on the very last page. Somebody said, would like to see the borough pay for our PPE, like gloves, safety glasses, and et cetera, and safety raincoats. Why would the borough not pay for those items?
We do.
I
That
thought,
was just a little bit of a misunderstanding.
Okay, I figured it was.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about the survey is you can pick up on those misunderstandings and, educate your employees. So that could be even something like that could be a positive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's required to do.
I want to.
We have vending machines. Sorry, I was just saying that it is required that PPE is required. We have actually vending machines Where I work, we just go and get gloves, batteries, knives, whatever it is. But I'm not trying to say that we should have a vending machine. I'm just saying,
With knives and-
with the number of people that we have, you'd have a constant line in our storeroom door, but totally different situation.
I did want to, after the last budget meeting, I did want to thank Andrew for an excellent presentation on the budget and guiding us through so that we were all aware and understood the nuances of the budget for next year. Mr. Mayor?
And if I can try to maybe get back. Here, this I want to show you because I still have copies of this. This is the original plan from Buchert Horn for Marge Goodfellow Park. I sent you, each of you, a copy of it. Maybe if we can't find it here, maybe we can go to Buchert Horn and say, look, do you have copies of this?
I don't disagree, but this would have been helpful information months ago, or probably more than months. Like,
And I brought it up months ago, and everybody ignored it.
Yeah, but now you're bringing this up, like you actually had it.
I had it on my iPhone, I just found it.
Okay, I mean.
I told you, I figured he would find it. You know, this is it, this is what was
All right, well,
prepared.
at this point, the money's been paid to both companies. There's no
You're
going back.
right, but this one I can't bring up any
Yeah,
more.
I
But I
think-
just wanted to, it came up earlier, there it is.
I mean, if you would like to take the two plans and compare them and come, we left it on the agenda for next month and.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things on here, this was the phases are down here, you can see at the bottom. Now, they did combine phase 1 and 2 on some of these things. Some things never got done, that included water fountains, the parking lot being paved here. There was supposed to be an area here for concerts.
So it sounds like the only thing that was done was repositioning the tennis courts and.
Yeah, we
and
built the
upgrading.
tennis courts.
No, we had tennis courts, we repositioned them,
We rebuilt them, they're completely moved from where they used to be.
repositioned.
Right, that's you just said that.
They didn't just pick it up, move it, that's reposition.
All right,
They
rotated.
rebuilt them from the ground up.
They were rebuilt and
In a different.
the park was
And we
regraded.
didn't have any of the equipment for the kids, so that's all in there. I sent it to you, look at it.
I saw it.
The other one, I think if you would like, I can play this for you now.
How long is it?
It's not long, it's 2 minutes.
Can a random act of kindness spawn a worldwide movement? Yes, it can. When a wallet was returned just moments after it was lost, a purpose was found. This one act of kindness inspired the formation of the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide,
That's
with a
Kevin
vision
Smith.
to inspire a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. Our signature initiative, Kindness Week Worldwide, launched in York, Pennsylvania, saw the entire community mobilized to celebrate kindness in many forms. Kindness Week featured initiatives and playbook programs, including blood drives, kindness cards, K-12 and college students embracing kindness, acts of service and charity, as well as an innovative means of community policing, kindness citations. York Police Commissioner Michael Muldrow personally took to the streets in search of York citizens helping each other through kindness.
It's time to kick off Kindness Week. We're going to be writing citations, but we're going to be writing citations for the good stuff that people are saying around the community. Everything that you do for this community is important, it's impactful, and it's necessary, and I just want you to know that you're appreciated. So you had to be the first person to be issued a kindness citation. For real.
This community-minded policing has become a case study for others to consider and expand. If something so magical can happen in York, Pennsylvania, the same and other inspirations can happen anywhere and everywhere. The movement of Kindness Week is now spreading to communities throughout the world. As more of this story unfolds, we invite you to write its future chapters with us. Our Screen Scenes initiative, featuring the Kindness Factor, will showcase these many stories of kindness. Let's include your community among them. Kindness is the heartbeat of the world. Together, with your support, we can make all its hearts beat as one.
I think it's important for you guys to see what that's all about. And that it started right here, spread to York, and from there, worldwide. It's a worldwide program at this point. So thank you for letting me take the time to
it's cool.
back up. I had to hook up to the internet here. So,
Eric, Southern Regional Police Department.
Beth was at our meeting. She's going to be taking the place of Gail, so it was nice to be able to meet her and have her sit in on the budget in one of our meetings. We did get state aid back in excess of $30,000. That was expected. We got $176,000. We did sell the 2009 Charger. We'll be selling the Magnum soon. Officer Castile is the new hire. He's starting at 48 months. He was a lateral from York. Officer Blaze is back from light duty. We gave the final approval for the officer new hire, final approval for the administrative employee handbook. That's what Peter Booth now should be finalizing. We also gave the final approval for the full-time administrative, putting Kim in that position. I did see this week she moved up to the front window, so that was good. We did approve the 2025 budget as presented, and Peter Booth's father had passed away, and the commission is going to send a $200 gift in his father's name to be determined.
Thank you.
Do you have any information about the school resource officer for Southern York County?
That commission meeting will be the first Wednesday of the month.
What information is that?
The school sent out an email earlier today that the SRO was no longer with the Southern York County School District.
We'll have discussion at the commission meeting, and then we'll bring that back to council.
When is it?
First Wednesday of the month.
Engineers report. Questions? Warehouse.
I have a question about Mason-Dixon. It says no work completed. That was that's one heck of a pavilion. That's more of a building with garage, and have garage doors and everything else. It's
Open space.
It says no work completed. Isn't that finalized?
Yeah, it's closed out.
Okay, I saw that.
This is just a report of what the engineer did. He didn't have to do anything, so he's saying.
Yeah,
it
that's
hasn't been
fine.
closed on his books yet.
St. John, what are their plans to do?
Handicap parking spaces.
Where? Which area?
Right
Which church?
The main church, sorry.
The big church,
The big one
okay.
up top.
Okay. They need to have, oh, okay, I know where you, yeah, there was nothing up there before, so they're
There was
actually
like
digging
four,
out.
I think.
The only thing they had was a circle. There was no parking.
There is parking this way. There's like 4 spots, close to the, kind of on the sides, not.
Oh, you're right, 2 on each side.
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, and now they want to put more in, okay.
A lot of older people.
Just gotta get younger.
Okay, water system?
Spencer, when does the contract date end for your water? I know we discussed it in the past, I just don't remember the.
2028, we have to provide notice in 2026.
So 2 years from now, you provide those.
You still need a connection though, right?
Yeah,
Well-
definitely having a backup plan, but
Yeah, we just have to work out something, but we don't use the amount of water we're currently, so.
Now, are we gonna cut back on the gallons, or are we gonna say, that's it, we're not interested
That'll
in
be
your water?
determined- That'll be determined as we work through the process, and what DEP permits the borough to do is more of a design.
What, who?
DEP,
Why would they have anything to do with where we get our water?
because they issued the permit to do so. And if they require that connection, that'll be something that we have to address. It's way too early to have that discussion.
Okay, I'm just thinking, hey, government, wonderful.
Just to answer your question, DEP would look at our water system and determine if we're standalone or if we need.
It's sufficient enough for the,
Hopefully it means like Shrewsbury Borough as needed.
Yeah.
But it still has to be there to be able to test it regularly.
Okay, wastewater system?
Just to cover, just mention that,
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what
if there's any questions on that application.
you want to address it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's just if council has any questions on the application, we just have to provide a letter that it was provided to the Borough Council for review, and obviously, all of council is aware that we're currently in the process of looking at those well one upgrades, and this is to get the construction permit application to DEP, it's just required notifications.
Any questions? Okay. Wastewater treatment plant?
you still looking for one for the wastewater? One fully? It's just the one that was hired.
Monthly permit report?
The first and second one on the front page, are both of those cases heard together, or are they separate because they're individual items?
They will be heard at the same time.
Yeah,
but separate.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, there's another one on the second page there.
Yeah.
Third set down.
Oh, yeah.
Pictures 11 to 14.
No more issues with the smoke shop since they were told what time to light?
No, there was a letter sent, there was some communication with the manager at the time. Apparently someone new, with new employees, didn't know that the switch was there and put a timer on it, but we haven't had any additional complaints after that. I hope it stays there. Yeah.
You didn't hear anything from Dave Jones about 28 for Curly, because he had another program or something he was going to use to look and see how else can you do the notification or something.
Yeah, he was still working on getting that information.
Okay.
Trying to find, but every address that we've tried has come back.
Not surprised.
Anything else on that? Land development activity report. Still says 37 lots, it's 34.
Well, isn't it 34 houses, but
34
37
houses,
lots?
37 lots.
Oh, I got it, because of the retention on.
How many times are they allowed to, the solar array, how many times are they allowed to extend their application? When they start
I
building
believe
or
it's,
something happens?
it's once, and they just did that.
That's what I thought. I mean, we don't have any new information. I mean, is that
Other
kind of
than
going
when
kaput?
they did submit everything again, so that went through the process. They indicated supply chain constraints and holdups on other projects that they had to finish up before starting this.
Recreation?
We had our meeting, we talked about special event being the Veterans Day dinner. Went over director's reports, basically going over some of the stuff that it's going to look into as far as new programs. Schedule for some of the things got moved around. That at the community center for pickleball, all of that was communicated. We discussed about a new logo. Background checks for instructors and volunteers. That is an item that we're going to be voting on at the next meeting. Nonprofit status that Andrew's been working on, that's been filed and is due sometime in January. We did have some conversation about the pickleball lines again on the courts down here at the playground. No decision was made on a recommendation that would then come to New Freedom Borough. New business. At the previous meeting, it was discussed about the possibility of using other facilities as to disrupt or reduce hours for pickleball or other groups at the community center. Unfortunately, all of those would require additional money to be spent to use a facility outside of what's available through rec. So we opted not to do anything. That's why the schedule was modified at the community center. We were going to talk about a memorandum of understanding about the Christmas parade. That idea was rescinded, so we might still be doing an activity in conjunction with them. just won't be partnering with them to basically assist with the running of it. So we'll probably have some discussion about maybe doing a float or something in the parade and an extra activity in conjunction with, but not working with them. And I believe that's it.
Have they done a financial report as of yet, which they're supposed
Thank
to do
you.
on a
There
monthly
was-
basis?
Yeah.
We had asked to have copies of that.
Yeah, so Donnie was not there, I believe Gina was taking the notes. I will follow up with Gina. I did ask that all of the minutes then be sent to Gina, so that Gina had mentioned she's responsible for updating the website. That's correct? Okay. So that then all that information could be sent to both municipalities and the website updated. I do not have a copy of that budget with me.
Now, somebody said Shrewsbury Township said if they know in advance, they can pull out their trucks and they can use that area for something if they need
I
it.
don't know how heated or.
Well, I don't know what you want to use it for, spring or summer. I would eliminate it altogether if they're, you know, up for, I mean, that might not even be a bad place to do instruction for pickleball.
In the garage at.
Yeah,
Township?
yeah, tape it off. Right, just tape it off and they could practice up there. It doesn't interfere with the old
I think
complainers up here.
I mean, I can bring it up. I think the only hesitation that I can think of is that then they'd have to have somebody, I guess you just move it out and then I guess maybe the next day move it back in.
Yeah, you know.
Something like that.
So you guys running the hike, that was part of recreation, right?
Yeah, that was led by Gina. I think I mentioned last time we had 7 participants that started and 3 of us finished. The other individuals, I think hers is me. The other lady pulled out because her daughter went into labor, so her and her husband left the trip. So it was Gina, myself, and one other individual. Honestly, it was a really, really neat experience. It's something I've been looking to check off of my bucket list items. I will not be doing 40 miles in 3 days anytime soon, but it was a really cool experience. Rained a little bit Friday. Saturday was overcast and cool, which helped, and similar weather on Sunday when we ended in Harper's Ferry. So, really, really neat. One of the things Gina did talk about is maybe doing some other like shorter kind of day hikes on the bike trail, maybe even a longer one up to York, where we kind of shuttle cars around like we did on this trip. So it was neat, really well done, and a lot of fun. Painful though.
Andrew, what was going on down at Marge Goodfellow Park Saturday? Who laid that out? Huh?
Car show, wasn't
No, it was no car show. There was a bunch of dogs and tents set up.
You're talking about Sunday.
Was it Sunday?
I think so. I saw tents on Sunday.
Yeah, it was Sunday.
That was the
Dog days.
dog days trick or treat. Yeah, I thought it was the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I knew I saw a couple of tents and a lot of dogs.
Does anybody have any other questions about rec?
The money that's in our rec fund that we show, does that get
Capital improvements.
That's just strictly, even though it just says rec fund, it's capital improvement rec fund? Okay. Do you know off your top of your head what your balance is in the?
No,
Okay.
Balance for what? For their account? or
Yeah,
rec-
for their account.
For capital?
Yeah, do you know what their account is?
No.
Because we had a couple of separate accounts, and I don't remember which was what. I think they had $36,000. They had money that got transferred over, correct? And Shrewsbury Township matched it,
No.
right?
No, no. So pull out your treasurer's report.
Go have to?
Yes.
Okay.
Go to page 3.
30. There, I see, rec, 74,000.
Right. That 74,000 is the money that was paid by developers for capital improvements.
Gotcha. Okay.
Per lot. That's also the balance that was transferred from the recreation checking account to the recreation capital fund account. So the balance of the money that was raised by the rec commission was transferred so it stays here in New Freedom. And it can only be used for capital improvements within New Freedom Borough.
Okay, then where do they get their money to utilize?
They get their money based on program fees, participant fees. They also raise, or they get money based on the allocation from Shrewsbury Township and New Freedom Borough. But the allocation is general fund money. It's not paid out of recreation capital reserve funds. It's paid out of general fund money.
And donations.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think we have anything on EMS and fire funding. Rose did have their bull and oyster roast. It was very well attended.
Very good.
A couple hundred people. So that was very successful for them.
I was gonna ask, are all these committees still relevant?
Probably not. I think we need probably to combine some of them. I'll take a look at that for next time and make a suggestion. Does anyone have any questions or reports on anything listed here? All right. Stock and leader, 2025 is a year to change your tax collector's compensation.
You have to do it in conjunction with the, prior to the election year, you have to announce what your compensation will be so that people who can decide whether they want to run for office with that compensation set. So that's why the timing occurs only once every 4 years within a very specific time frame. And that's outlined in Dave's article there for you.
We feel we need to do that.
No, it's just provided as course.
York County Hazard Mitigation Plan Approval Process.
Just provided as reference that it's finally been approved, and will go to the commissioners and through their process, and then back to the municipalities.
It says attached is an example adoption resolution. Do you have that?
I do, but I didn't include that because I wanted to make sure it goes through these other couple steps before I even introduce it to council.
Gotcha.
It might change.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't think it will, but
There's a York County Borough Association Annual Banquet Invitation. I guess give this to you.
yeah, let me know if you'd like to attend.
This is the last one they have of the year.
Correct.
They moved it.
I'm going to take this opportunity, I should have probably done this at the president's report, but I didn't think that was appropriate. I'm going to say, tonight I'm using a point of personal privilege to address accusations of misconduct. To understand this issue, I think council has to understand the conflict of interest and when to abstain. Voting on council is a duty and a privilege. All council members have a
Point of order. Doesn't have anything to do with official business.
Yes, it's a point
No,
of
it doesn't.
personal.
Point of order. Official business. It's not on the agenda.
Stop.
You're out of order.
I am not out of order by holding Sunshine Act accountable, Mr. Mayor.
Stop.
I'm not stopping. He's out of order by talking about things that are not on the agenda. Am I right or wrong, Mr. Solicitor?
It's not a motionable item. It's just my.
You're not on the agenda.
I am
Not
allowed
on
to
the
do
agenda.
this under Robert's
Not on the
rules.
agenda. Not on the agenda.
Then file a
Not on the
sunshine
agenda.
law violation. Voting on council is a duty
Will
and a
do.
privilege. All council members have a fiduciary duty to vote. So it's important to understand conflict of interest and why there are very few instances to abstain. To summarize conflict of interest from the Ethics Act, which I've given to council in front of you, a conflict of interest occurs when you use your office to get money or employment for yourself, your family, or a business you or your family owns, holds office in, or holds a financial interest. So under the law, conflict of interest is about getting a monetary benefit and having a personal financial interest. I have never used my office for the private monetary benefit of myself, any member of my family, or for any business with which I or my family has a financial interest or officer relationship.
Just the $100,000 you donate to the VFW.
Sir, they asked you to stay
Then you can take me out,
I
officer.
will, one more outburst, and per the.
Out of order.
Borough, would you, Borough Council, would you like his removed from the room?
If he continues to disrupt.
Out of order.
Be removed. Yeah.
Again, this is out of order.
So,
This is out of order,
File
and
a lawsuit.
we all know it. We all know it. And you continue to abuse your executive privilege.
Why don't you wait and listen to see what this says, and then you could decide.
It's out of order.
It's not out of order.
It is out of order.
No,
You
under
once
Robert-
again
under Robert's
are
rules-
using your position as the Borough Council President to defend your unethical and immoral behavior.
He
Sir.
is disrupting the meeting.
let them finish.
I'm not going to let him finish.
Okay,
This is
well-
point of order, so either the
Council, would you like him
facilitator
removed?
can have me removed.
I need a consensus from the council.
You need a consensus to have me removed, or I'm going to continue to point of order you.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion that the individual be removed so that I can finish reading the statement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye.
Thank you for doing the right thing, Ms. Urge.
So,
He's not my friend, Joey, and that wasn't rude, that was rude. That was rude. I can be for free speech from anybody. You shouldn't say he's my friend, because he's not my friend. You don't know that? Are you kidding?
well, I would,
The
yeah.
inappropriateness of this.
All right, I have the floor, please. So, under the law, conflict of interest is about getting a monetary benefit and having a personal financial interest. I've never used my office for the private monetary benefit of myself, any member of my family, or for any business with which I or my family has a financial interest or officer relationship. At our last meeting, when an SYC Youth Club issue came up, I was immediately asked if I still belonged to SYC. My answer was no, but it should have been, it doesn't matter. Unpaid volunteering for a nonprofit community group is not a basis for recusal or abstaining from discussion or votes under ethics guidelines. We are a community of 4,900 people. When you say someone wears more than one hat as a volunteer in this community, it is a compliment and a privilege and an honor. You are talking about people who are sacrificing their time and money to improve the community. Our solicitor has confirmed that unless you are an officer, you do not list nonprofit organization memberships or volunteer activities anywhere on the financial disclosure. The PA State Ethics Board has confirmed this to me. When the vote was taken by council for the VFW land lease, I stood in front of the public and said, for complete transparency, Dave Raystorff and I are members of the VFW Auxiliary. Not members of the VFW, keep in mind. We're members of the auxiliary. We support the VFW. I believe this was a unanimous vote by council. It also went in front of zoning, and all citizens were notified of the meeting, including the park neighbors who attended a zoning meeting and gave their approval. It also went in front of planning and was approved. The land development plan was approved and was presented to council and was approved. This was a very transparent process. I make no money and hold no office at the VFW. So for complete transparency, let me put on the record that I donate money to many local organizations: New Freedom Borough, the Southern New York County Rec Commission, Rose Fire, Rose EMS, the SYC Youth Club, the Senior Center, Hope, Shrewsbury Fire, VFW Post 7012, the Lions Club, Homes for Our Troops, and SRPD K9. None of these would be required to be reported on a financial disclosure for elected officials. Also note that all of these organizations serve the community and benefit the general public. The PA Attorney General has a good example. You live on a street with 12 other families. The contract comes up to pave our street. You do not need to abstain because all of the people on the street are getting the same benefit. This is called a group exemption. It is not a conflict of interest if the motion being considered by council affects the general public or a part of the public or a subgroup. Per the Ethics Commission, exceptions to conflict of interest include if the action affects to the same degree class or consisting of the general public or a subclass consisting of an industry, occupation, or other group. Police, fire are occupations, and seniors and veterans are groups. Council actions are therefore not a conflict of interest under PA 65 when the action benefits the general public or a subgroup. There is no collusion on council. These are good people voting their hearts for the good of New Freedom. No one up here has violated any law, nor have they violated the trust given to them by the citizens of New Freedom. I would hope that no one on this council or any other council gives up their duty to vote due to misinformation about conflicts of interest. In summary, you abstain if you would get money from the action on the table or your immediate family or are an officer or have a financial interest in a business that would get money from the action on the table. That's it. Thank you for listening, and please be assured all of us will continue to honor the public trust and do the best job we can for the people of New Freedom.